It's time for City Beat, your source for all the latest news on the city of Thompson. Only on 102.9 CHTM, your radio station.
Good morning and welcome to this edition of City Beat. My guest this morning is Mayor Dennis Fenske. Welcome.
Good morning.
It was a busy city council meeting. It wasn't long, but there was a lot of things on the agenda. There was a letter from the provincial government that they're introducing this year a new way to disperse money to the municipalities. Could you maybe explain from your understanding what the new format is and what effect it'll have on municipalities?
Yeah, basically there's a number of grants that we used to apply for. Each had an administrative process and an approval process, so the government has now moved to a single basket application, and they've amalgamated a number of those grants into one application of funding, and basically that's been identified now. So we've received $2,997,641 this year, based on two of the grants are based on census, which actually had a negative effect for us because although our population went up, the average population in Manitoba went down. So the way the formula is written, we will actually lose $30,000 in our overall granting. So we'll have to absorb those losses through other manners in our granting process. But basically, it's a single basket application, which should be easier, and the approval process should be a little bit easier.
So with the $30,000 less this year, is that going to have any impact on the financial plan?
Basically, it's revenue that we'll have to identify through other sources, or else reduce scopes of work depending on what was being funded.
Now, the Association of Manitoba Municipalities is going to be lobbying the provincial government to develop a long-term strategy that will increase the physical and electronic connectivity to enable economic development opportunities throughout the province. Could you explain what that is in layman's terms?
Sure. What that means is basically, for the northern Manitoba perspective, that there are limited, and I'm talking about roads that are seasonal, the ice roads and things like that, that limit the connectivity of a community to other commerce centers like the city of Thompson. And also on the electronic side of things, reception for internet and things like e-commerce and things like that are stronger in the south because of the number of towers, because of the number of users. In the north, not so much. So we're looking for provincial equalization in the sense of someone in Dooley Lake having the same electronic ability as somebody in Winnipeg in regards to stay connected. So that's the lobbying effort that AMM will move forward on behalf of all the communities in Manitoba to increase the connectivity in rural and northern Manitoba, both from an electronic perspective and also from an all-weather road perspective as well.
Now, the city entered into a contribution agreement with the province for new transit signage and bus shelters. This was included in the city's financial plan, and this is exactly what the city went through not too long ago with the handy van, which I will be talking about with Deputy Mayor Kathy Valentino next week. But when should the city expect to see these new things for the transit system?
Yeah, so now that these agreements are signed off, this is a little quicker than the handy van process. So we should see construction of the shelters and the signage this summer. That will increase awareness for the bus routes and the availability of having a couple more shelters within the city.
Now, this isn't something that's new, but as there's been an agreement in place for a few years with regards to debris cleanup on the Burntwood River with MAPS, the city of Thompson, and Manitoba Hydro, could you explain what the resolution that was passed unanimously by council on Tuesday was?
Yeah, so basically it's an agreement with Manitoba Hydro that they've brought forward with the MAPS group, which is the men are part of the solution, and it's for riverbank cleanup and restoration. They've extended from a 3-year program to a 5-year program, so it's an amount of $100,000 annually, and basically it employs a number of people through the MAPS program. They are the labor resource, and Hydro supplies some of the capital from that perspective as well, and some of the supervision. And so basically it's restoring the riverbank, Burntwood River, as it relates to the Churchill River diversion. So this is a good news story in that there's some sustainability in the program, that it's a 5-year program as opposed to a 3, and it creates employment for seasonal work for the next 5 years.
I didn't include this on the questions I provided you before, but you're flying down to Winnipeg tomorrow to meet with ministers along with Councillor Byron, I believe City Manager Gary Sepatelli. Who are you meeting with, and what's the purpose of the meetings?
We're meeting with Minister Cullen in regards to just an update, and we're also meeting or also attending on our from the community's perspective is Les Ellsworth and Gord Medwood from Local 6166 Steelworkers. We'll be discussing with Minister Cullen the recent birch tree announcement and the effect of the additional 200 jobs that will be affected, in addition to the 500 jobs that will be affected by the transition to a mine mill operation in 2018. And so we will be stressing the urgency of action. We have been talking with the previous government and this government on a number of issues that preclude the announcement, and so we want some answers, and we want to talk about other initiatives that can be started to mitigate the issue of the workforce transition and the impact on retirees, and also the impact on businesses in our community over the next 18 to 24 months. So it will be to reaffirm our position that we need assistance from the province of Manitoba. There is a sense of urgency, more so with the birch tree announcement. Not that there wasn't an urgency before, but the announcement last week certainly added to the urgency of dealing with this issue moving forward.
Now, this was part of the financial plan for 2017. Selkirk Avenue is going to be redone in the next little while. Is the city going to be footing the entire bill? I can't imagine that would be a cheap undertaking.
No, this is a cost share through the, it's a wastewater renewal program and also the paving renewal. So there's a cost sharing between the capital plan of the water services utility and the gas tax that we receive from the federal government and the roadworks program that we receive from the province of Manitoba. So there's multiple scenarios in regards to what our costs are, but it is a sharing between three principal governments.
Council voted unanimously to waive the Shrine Circus rental fee of the VRCC and the cleanup costs, and it's normal practice for council to do so on events like this. However, that's usually done before the event takes place. Why was this voted on and decided after the fact?
Well, I think to the credit of the local Shrine Club, they do a lot of good work for the community and in bringing in the Shrine Circus, but also it's a volunteer base. And so from our perspective, we have a policy in place. We have timelines in place. Unfortunately, they weren't met prior to the event, and our council meeting was after the event. So we received the request prior to the event, but we didn't have a council meeting to actually make the passage. So the event happened on the 20th, and we had our meeting on the 23rd. And we have in the past, as you stated, waived those fees. So it was a matter of housekeeping, but again, recognizing the work of the volunteers of the Shrine Circus and the Shriners, local Shriners, and understanding the timing that they were under, it was just a matter of approving what had been done in the past.
Now, probably the most discussed issue at council was the financial assistance bylaw. Could you maybe explain what the bylaw is and why it's so important to the city? I know you were a bit passionate when you got to talking about this and you gave an address to council.
Yeah, thanks. And I think that the issue here, this is the financial tax abatement program, where as an initiative in the city of Thompson, we are bringing forward a bylaw to receive first reading on Tuesday in regards to businesses that are property owners to increase or improve their property buildings by expansion, by retrofitting, or building new, where there'll be a tax abatement over a 5-year process depending on the amount of investment. This is a city initiative that we are aligning ourselves with Thompson 2020 as well to help mitigate the issue of what we've been talking previously about, the announcement of 2018 changing to a mine mill operation. And so we are trying to put initiatives in place from a various number of sectors to soften that blow. And so we're encouraging businesses to invest in the community to ensure that we're in a sustainable mode post 2018. And this is the first reading of the bylaw that allows that to go forward.
Now, moving on from council, the city cleanup is starting tomorrow with the business challenge, then continuing on Saturday. Could you explain what's going on with that?
Yeah, so basically we are a little bit behind because of the late snowfall and the late spring cleanup. So basically this is the business aspect of where there's a business challenge to help clean up your areas and collect garbage. We also have the cash for for trash program, which is $3 a bag. We've also instituted a free tipping fees for half tons and trailers for residential pickup or garbage pickup at the landfill from June 5th to June 10th. And we have hired our own caretakers for the summer to do pickup in the downtown and outlying areas. So this is all part of the community cleanup process. So we're looking forward to everybody pitching in to help beautify our community.
Now, to close things off, I don't think there's a person in town, or even the province for that matter, who hasn't heard about what happened on Monday. Now, that tragedy is something that will take the town a while to move on from and get going again. All four were wearing their flotation devices, but it seems as good a time as any to remind everyone with the warmer weather now of safety measures and everything you should be doing when you're heading out for an outdoor excursion.
Absolutely, and I want to reiterate that we offered as the City of Thompson condolences to both the Cripps and Sykes family in their tragic loss. But as a reminder to the general public, the water temperature is extremely low. The ice is just off the lakes and rivers, and in some cases still out there in a little bit. But just to extreme caution that if you are choosing to go on water, I would rather you not at this point and wait for it to warm up. But if you are, make sure that all the safety precautions are taken in regards to ensuring your safety, because if there is an occasion to be in the water, as a professor from the University of Manitoba was explaining yesterday in regards to the process of the issue of being in cold water, it quickly affects the body, and you don't have a lot of chance. So again, from a safety perspective, I would encourage everyone to stay off the water until it warms up. But those that are choosing to do so, make sure that you mitigate the risk as best you can in every way that you can.
Well, that does it for this edition of City Beat. If you have a question you'd like answered next week, email it in advance to CHTMnews@arcticradio.ca. For 1029 CHTM, I'm Stuart Walter.
City Beat will be back next Thursday morning.